I think I'll be all right. Speaking of decent press, before we get to Kamala Harris, let's take a look at this. How a former Bernie bro became a pro-Putin propaganda machine. From
movement, one of the biggest voices online.
Friend of the show, Donie O'Sullivan, who did a new docu-series called MisinfoNation.
In the pro-Palestinian movement, one of the biggest voices online isn't a former diplomat, regional expert, or even a Palestinian. It's a 24-year-old white kid from California named Jackson Hinkle.
That at all, just like you're not prepared to admit that Israel's a terrorist organization.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
Kim Jong-un is a peace-seeking leader. We're going to de-NATOfy Ukraine, and we're going to de-Nazify
All right, you just sound completely bonkers.
And the people in the established Palestinian movement just want him to stop.
That part is really... The people in the established Palestinian movement just want him to stop. It's true, but it's really funny. Please, dude, stop. He's like, yeah, I'm...
He and his followers call themselves MAGA communists. And that isn't supposed to be a joke. The crowd here was mostly male and mostly white.
I will just say once and for all, so Piers Morgan never has to ask me again, no, I do not condemn Hamas. It's very simple.
Jackson's social media following skyrocketed after the October 7th attack on Israel.
I've been to Russia, I've been to China. Their major cities are much nicer.
But Jackson had barely started speaking about Gaza.
There is something really interesting about a man who is able to travel so freely to Venezuela and Russia and even prominently be featured amongst like the Ansar Allah movement and not even get an ounce of scrutiny from the American federal government. I feel like people have been, people have had their entire bank account seized for much less. That's all I'm saying. Listen, all I'm saying is people have had their shit seized for much less, okay? And there are definitely historic examples. He white, though? No. There have just been prominent examples in the past of similar splinter groups among the supposed left that have also worked with federal agents. You're wrong. The federal government does background checks on all their employees. Don't you dare speak badly of a Johnny Harris coworker. Okay. I know we say like Johnny Harris is a CIA agent or whatever, but like, come on, dude. Like,
No, Russia's better and stronger than ever before, and their leader has a very high approval rating.
Before he launched into pro-Russia and pro-China talking points.
The more America supports real terrorist entities like Israel, real terrorist countries like Ukraine, the more that we...
See, one must ask, like, what purpose would this serve? Especially when you got a guy like this who says a whole bunch of incredibly unhinged things that are directly at odds with a leftist movement. Because when he talks about Israel-Palestine, he sounds, depending on what he's saying about it, he's like right there. He's right there. Okay? But when you tie that to all of the other stuff that he says, all of a sudden, maybe he's wrong on Israel as well. That's kind of the the, I would say, intended effect of actors such as this one. You know? Does that make sense to you? This is why I used to say Alex Jones is a Fed, because, you know, for every like correct position that he had, like, oh, we are living under a mass surveillance state and that the government is spying on you, or that they're turning the freaking frogs gay. They're not turning them gay. They're turning them trans with chemicals in the water. That is true. Okay. For every like correct thing he says, it is packaged in a sea of nonsense, like utter nonsense, which kind of makes the correct assessments that he makes seem very incorrect, doesn't it? It almost feels like you can point to this guy as like a prominent piece of the Palestinian resistance, and then all of a sudden the Palestinian resistance looks ridiculous. You don't think that's what Donie CNN is doing here? I don't think that's what Donie is doing. If Donie was doing that, he wouldn't have said the Palestinian, like the national Palestinian movement, the established national Palestinian movement wants him to stop. I don't think that think that he would say that if he was like associating it with pro-Palestinian sentiment.
Strengthen our actual enemies. Most of what is said about Vladimir Putin in the mainstream press is just factually not true.
Jackson has become a darling of the Kremlin and Russian state TV. He's made multiple trips to Russia this year.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, bro, like Tucker Carlson goes to Russia, cuts propaganda, right? And he doesn't get popped. What does Tucker Carlson's dad do again? What did Tucker Carlson's dad do? I can't remember. Oh, that's right. He was in charge of Voice of America. He was literally in the CIA, and Tucker Carlson actually very famously wanted to also work for the CIA. Or maybe he did, and we simply don't know. All I'm saying is, if you're a fucking media figure and you fly to Russia, which is under the most rigorous sanctions regime of all time, okay? And then you get not even a fucking slap on the wrist for it, I'm gonna be suspicious. I'm gonna be a little suspicious. I'm gonna be like, that's weird. That's a weird thing. That's an odd thing. It's kind of odd. How does that happen?
We're in Tokmak, which is just a few kilometers away from the front line, and back in.
But Jackson wasn't always like this. Just a few years ago, he was a soft-spoken Southern California kid, a Bernie Sanders supporter who even ran for city council as a progressive. Why do you think the Russians like you so much?
I speak truth.
You are, in some ways, the quintessential American man, right? You're a surfer guy, California. So for the Russians or the Chinese to have somebody like you to go over there and basically shit all over America.
No shitting on America. I love this country. I love the people. I just want it to be better.
Is there not a way to do that without having to fly back and forth to Moscow and seem to be embracing authoritarian regimes?
Well, they're far less authoritarian than the United States.
Come on, man.
Ultimately,
come on, dude. Russia is far less authoritarian than the United States. Like, you can make the argument that American foreign policy is significantly worse in terms of its global footprint than the Russian foreign policy, which is also very bad, okay? This is not a defense of Russian foreign policy. They're literally fucking murdering Ukrainians every day, okay? But the moment that you're like, Russia is not anywhere near as authoritarian as the United States, like, come on. The United States doesn't need to be as authoritarian as Russia because it is the global hegemonic superpower. That's why motherfuckers like me can exist in the United States of America, but I would be fucking in prison if I was in Russia making the same exact criticisms against the Russian state. That's why motherfuckers like me would be in prison in Turkey making the same criticisms against the Turkish state. Okay? America is so fucking powerful that it can get away with having naysayers. Now, that might change. Who knows? But it's crazy to make this statement. Isn't Hinkle a fallen HasanAbi head? He is.
Ultimately, I live in the generation where for the first time there's going to be a lower standard of living than the previous generation. That's not good.
And I mean, I hear all that. You can't genuinely say that people in Russia and people in China have more liberties than people in the United States.
Well, there's no free speech.
You have a lot of.
That's crazy that he's saying that. Okay. Again, China as well. No, China as well. I would not be able to launch the same fucking blistering criticisms of the American government as I do in China against the Chinese government. Okay? Come on now. That is literally, objectively, patently false. What the fuck? Yes, American media lies about China quite frequently. Okay? All the goddamn time. I actually saw a TikTok where some woman was talking about Wukong, and she literally, it is so like, anti-Chinese sentiment is so baked into every fucking orifice of media that like some random old lady was like, Wukong is a computer game that came out of China, and to help you understand how unimaginably the advancements have been for China, 10 years ago, it was illegal to purchase a console in China. It's like, what the fuck are you saying? It was illegal to purchase a console in China? What are you saying? What are you fucking saying? What are you saying? You're insane. Like, every console is made in China, dumbass. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway. Yeah, it's still illegal there. What do they mean? Yeah, it's illegal to have a console in China. Xi Jinping killed my uncle for buying a PS4 in 2014. He also sold poisonous baby formula, but I think it was the PS4 thing. China has been doing anti-gamer policies for a while. I know, they fucking banned gambling in games. Wait, where the fuck is the video? I'm missing it. All right, let's get back
Free
to
speech?
it.
Really?
You
think
do.
I have free speech?
You don't think you have free speech?
No. I mean, what's the public square today? It's obviously social media.
You have 3 million followers on X. You can post whatever you want. You're hosting events here. How do you not have free speech? What part of your speech is being curtailed?
It's very simple. It's very simple. Yes, I have 3 million followers on X. But what about Instagram? I've been banned. YouTube, I've been banned. I was banned from Raya, a dating site.
Jackson's bans might have something to do with his repeated sharings
I was banned from Raya?
Posts.
Bitch, I bet you weren't able to get in. That's just...
And his celebrations of violence.
You look like you're in pain.
Whatever his motivations, his message and his propaganda is resonating. I just don't know if I believe you or not.
Guess you'll have to wait and see. I got my whole life ahead of me.
You said that.
That's it. That's the promo for now for the upcoming show, which Donie promoted here and gave me a shout out on as well.
And you mentioned the creators at the DNC were actually hanging out in the whole story on Sunday with Hassan Piker, who is one of the biggest Twitch streamers.
This worried me a little bit. Abby Phillips's look changed dramatically when he mentioned me, and that scares me a little bit. I'll admit. I saw this last night while playing Wukong. You guys probably missed it, but like the vibes changed dramatically when he brought my name up, and it scares me a little bit.
And you mentioned the creators at the DNC were actually hanging out in the whole story on Sunday with Hassan Piker, who is one of the biggest Twitch streamers, video game streaming platform for people who don't know what Twitch is, but it is where a lot of political discussion is happening. It's where a lot of Gen Z is getting their political discussion. And what we're focusing on in this documentary, this hour on Sunday, is we're really looking at disillusioned.
Maybe she watches your thirst talks. That's her face change. No, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? Y'all are. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but it felt like her expression changed. She was like smiling, and then she just. Because she was laughing here. Look.
At the DNC were actually hanging out in
She's
the whole
smiling.
story on Sunday with Hassan Piker, who is one of the biggest Twitch.
And then she's no longer smiling. Stop saying stupid fucking shit. She liked their Insta post, or she watches your thirst traps or whatever. Okay? You guys are so fucking stupid. Shut up. I'm just worried, okay? Maybe I'm overthinking it.
On in this documentary, this hour on Sunday, is we're really looking at disillusioned young white American men who spend most of their waking hours online and who believe that America's left them behind, and it's everybody's fault but theirs.
And there's such an interesting crossover ideologically now with people in conspiracy land. That's happening all over the place. Watch Donie's Hour Sunday night at
8 p.m. Eastern.
8
Let's say
Eastern.
that. And you mentioned the.
Why does her opinion worry you? I hope that no one at CNN knows who I am. That's it. That's my position on the matter. Obviously, Donie knows who I am. That's not what I'm talking about. I love Donie. Donie's great. And depending on how much editorial control he has over this process, I can assume that he has. I can assume that he is like. I think he's placed me as like a sane version of like leftist commentary as a counter to the misinformation, to the flow of misinformation that runs rampant online. But that could change depending on who the editor is and what kind of editorial control they have. Does that make sense? I know how journalism works. I have a lot of friends in the media, as you know. Okay? I know how this shit works. Anyway. Your standing in mainstream media will always be precarious, and maintaining that is important for the proliferation of its message. For your message, yes. So we'll see. I don't think Donie would fuck me over though.